My conception of teaching. As a student, teaching is something that you do not decide to do. It's something you want to do. It's about vocation and do it because you feel the necessity to transmit your knowledge with the rest and prepare these people, not just giving them the knowledge, also teaching them ethics and values. My conception of teaching as a teacher. Teaching is having the passion to transmit the knowledge you have and prepare your students to the world by giving them the necessary tools to build their future. In that way, they can be excellent people to serve society. Teaching requires patience, love, courage, engagement, creativity, and more things that are necessary to change students' minds and lives. My conception of learning as a student. Learning is a challenge. You need to know yourself and know how to learn the best. Learn manners to facilitate your process. Because as a student, we used to have teachers with different methodologies. You need to adapt yourself to any change and know how to handle with this to learn. My conception of learning as a teacher. You need to look for the correct methods that work with your students. You need to know them first and realize how they learn the best. By applying correct methods, you facilitate the process of learning. It will be easy to understand the topics and having good results at the end. In my personal opinion, the purpose of education is to make us better human beings. Education shows us that exist rules and behaviors that we need to understand to live in peace and have good relationships. Education teaches us values that humans have since many centuries ago, is in charge of repeat this information to new generations and never let it die. Students learn best by? Well, in this case, I think that students learn best by putting everything in practice. As a teacher and as a student, I always knew the best way to learn is by applying the knowledge you acquired. And why? Because when you put everything in practice, you start to have thoughts. You investigate the things that you don't know by asking or looking on the internet, and you understand completely. You manage the information, and in practice, you learn from your achievements and from your mistakes. This question blooms my mind. What are your goals as a teacher? Well, I discovered that I have 3 main goals. My primary goal as a teacher is to be recognized as one of the best teachers in the educational center. I want to see my effort and passion reflected, and it can be by the recognition as an excellent teacher by my students, my coworkers, my superiors, and the parents of my students. Another goal is to see reflected all my work on my students by knowing they are learning and growing thanks to the knowledge I share with them. I want to see their achievements and also the place they can achieve someday in our society. My last goal is to mark a change at any place I go. Mark the difference thanks to my work and my personality. For me, the most effective methods for teaching are those which require physical movement and practice. To illustrate, the audiolingual method is used by the repetition of word patterns and thought at the same language you are acquiring. It allows realizing mimics, more didactic and creativity activities, and using different learning tools. Values the following of rules and be a facilitator to my students. Those are the most important aspects of my teaching. It's necessary to apply values such as respect, responsibility, punctuality, honesty, and tolerance to build big and good relationships between students and a student's teacher. The following of rules works to create routines inside a classroom, since the students enter until they leave. And finally, it's necessary for me to be a facilitator to my students. Look for methods that adapt the necessities of them. This is a description of how I teach. My teaching style consists of having a role as a facilitator. I like my students create and experiment things by their own, applying the self-learning. Moreover, I'm a perfectionist person. For this reason, I like to feel the control inside a classroom. Be a facilitator and an authority at the same time creates a perfect match for me. To illustrate, it's like having humor and strictness at the same time. Students can feel that you have the control and respect, but can reach to you with confidence.